it always happens. I mean, it's always, again, this is not a partisan thing. I mean, every president comes in and every administration comes in and they bring their own people. But usually, for the most part, the people they bring in are people that know something, a little something about what's going on.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. It's Robert Morillo, Broker Associates with Team Aroa at Compass, Florida. License number BK3373543. Good morning, John. What's going on?
Good morning, John Sepulveda, MLS 1309244. Coming at you with another update, another daily memo.
Another welcome
Update
to
on the DM, baby.
Out of Orlando, Florida. John, before the show, we got to talking a little bit about politics, and you shed a lot of light as far as the seriousness of politics and your perspective, which I could really appreciate and see things from that angle, and how our country is shaped and guided through the political system. So I say that because today's topic, condos and the investment in condos, the associations of condos, in a sense, they're very political. I see the infrastructure of the condo system as political in certain regard. So we'll get into the market talk and whatnot, and then we'll flow into today's topic of conversation, which is the Florida condo market opportunities and risks.
Sounds like a plan. And does, yes, the whole subject, the situations at hand, right? As they, I mean, especially the United States, it's a largest country in the world as far as, or you know what I mean, economically, and the decisions made by the U.S. sort of impact the rest of the world, and there's some people making some decisions that are questionable. I mean, just and you got to question not their education or their you can't. These people are the Fed, right? This is highly educated people that have way smarter than I am and way more educated than I am. However, these people they're academics. They've never owned a business in their lives. Yet they're making decisions that impact business. So like driving forward, looking at the rearview mirror. Yeah. Because I don't have the training that the Fed has, and I'm learning how to read these charts and this data, and it's pointing to liars figures don't lie. I mean, housing is a lagging indicator. You can't, you got to look at it the way it is. You can't make decisions based on where it's now, because it's not. It's where it was 3 months ago or 4 or 5 months ago. You got to do what's now, and they're not doing that. So because I think it's all these people they're academics. I mean, if you look at, I've been reading some, the more you read into this, Silicon Valley, I mean, it's scary. I mean, it's just, they didn't have a risk manager for a year. They did not have one.
It was that the position was not filled.
The person left in January or February of 2022, and it was not filled.
And so it was not. Wow.
The interim.
They just let it open.
No. They had.
They
had somebody else. They had somebody else doing the job. Like they had somebody else in charge of it.
Gotcha.
But that other person was out running around diversity inclusion program.
More than one hat.
Well, she was running around doing a diversity inclusion program. Which that's fine. But you can't, a risk manager for a major bank like this, who has to assess the risk of where they're putting the money, which all they have is the money, and it's not their money at that, it's other people's money. You should have somebody in charge of that and oversee that.
Yeah.
Not put somebody who's doing something else, who has a different agenda, bouncing around in that. Then if you read further, the San Francisco Fed chair, who is responsible for overseeing that stuff, was bouncing around doing diversity inclusion initiatives.
So
And,
is
you know,
there
and that's,
any, is there,
that's a banking institution that has to they're watching people's money. So I mean, diversity, it's all, you know, it's great. I mean, we need it. It has to be. Somebody's got, but there's got to be somebody specifically dedicated to that, not the person that's supposed to be watching the bank and watching people's deposits. Like somebody else has to, you know what I mean, get a position and have somebody else do that. But the Fed chair, you should be watching Fed business, which is money banking related, because that's what your job is, to kind of control that.
So is there any one person to blame? Is the bank, due to that fact, right? Is the bank worthy, or is the bank, should they have been bailed out?
No, 100% no. 100% no.
Yeah, they should have been reprimanded somehow.
I mean, they don't. I mean, they
get
political. I mean,
on
Friday morning, mid morning, noon, whatever the time was when the FDIC kind of released and said the bank is closed Monday, you'll have, that was a statement. I mean, that's what happens. There's no, the country's not gonna, the world is not gonna end because that bank failed. They need to let them fail. They need to let them see that their actions,
repercussions, yeah.
Oh, they're going to fire they're going to fire the people. Great. But what about, well, nobody lost money, right? Allegedly. Well, guess who lost money? We did, because we have to pay for that. Now the administration gets up there and says, no tax, the taxpayers are not paying this. Of course we are, because they're going to increase the fees on FDIC. FDIC doesn't have the money to fund all that. So it's got to come from somewhere. So they're going to charge the banks a higher fee, of course. You think banks are going to pay the higher fee? Of course, they're going to pay it after they charge us a higher fee, and then they get the money to pay it. And they'll probably charge us a higher fee and make a profit on that higher fee that they're making. In other words, they get charged $1, they charge us $1.50, they make 50 cents, and they pay the government the buck, or FDIC the buck that they're going to. Again, I'm just making up numbers, but that's how it works. Because
how do the banks get away with holding people's money, taking 90% of it, reinvesting it, and hardly giving anything back to the depositors? Or I can virtually, they're not giving anything back.
It's called lobbying.
It's crazy.
And corruption.
Yeah.
And it's not like both parties do it. This is not a partisan thing. Both parties do it when they're in control. It's not a partisan thing. It's just the system, now again, that's the system we've had, and that's how it works. But you need to, in order for that system to work, you need to have people running the system who know a little bit about what they're working on. I mean, there's some people, and again, it happens with every administration. Like every administration, things happen and they put people in. But unfortunately, in this administration, the people that they have there is just, they got a guy who's mayor in Indiana, and he's the secretary of transportation.
Yeah.
And I mean, supply chain issues, cancel flights, like it's a mess. And this guy doesn't know anything about transportation. It's insane. Just because he ran for president, okay, well, he's a good candidate. I mean, it's insane. And they're making these decisions. There's all the flight data. That's another call for another day, but all those cancellations and all this stuff, there's a reason behind that. There's a reason why they haven't they haven't really, I mean, it's not a secret. I've read it. I learned about it. So it's not a secret.
Yeah.
They just don't publish it. It had really nothing to do with weather. Nothing, absolutely nothing to do with weather. And it's really the government.
It's money driven.
No, it's not. It's not. No, it's just incapable, like just not good.
So incompetence.
Incompetence at work is what it is. It's not about money, and it's just incompetent. They're just incompetent people that are running the show. I mean, the homeland, Majorcas, embarrassing. I'm Hispanic. It's an embarrassment. You got one of the highest positions of a Hispanic. It should be like those positions. I feel that should give people like you and I, right? You know, we're Hispanic, we're immigrants. Like, we should be looking up to those people and saying, man, you know, I want to, if I like politics and I want to do that, that's what I want to strive
That's
to
who
be.
I want to emulate.
It should be a role model. You know, I mean, you know, you have this guy up there saying, we're fine, there's no crisis, there's nothing at the border, nothing going on. I mean, how are you going to say that there's no issue at the border? I'm an immigrant. I'm an immigrant. Like, I'm not, has nothing to do whether I'm anti or for immigration. That's not the subject at hand. There's an issue at the border. I mean, if you don't see that, you're not looking, you're not really paying attention. But there's people dying every day. It is a major issue at the border. For all or against, that doesn't matter who anybody is. There's an issue. You have to figure out, there's people dying, there's kids dying, and, you know, people drowning and trying to come here. So there needs to be fixed. You can't just say, and you can't, and the solution is not, oh no, it's fine, everything's perfect. I mean, you have to acknowledge that's just not going to fix itself.
The patch, right? The patchwork.
Yeah, you know, but you have some guy who, I don't know, I mean, you know, he's not capable of doing those things. So anyway, you know, back to the reports. I don't. As I said yesterday, we're talking about, we got the ADP report. Expectation was 210,000 jobs, came on 145,000. So it came below
short,
and it matched the JOLTS report. It came in lower than the expectations. So that caused,
it aligned with
what, you know, we've been talking about. You know, the market did, you know, did okay, kind of, it's there. People are waiting to see what happens, but the bond market reacted well, and bonds, you know, went down. So we'll see how that continues today, and then tomorrow is really, now everything's waiting for tomorrow, because the Labor Department is the one that does the BLS tomorrow report. So that's tomorrow's report. We'll see what the numbers are, right? We'll see if they are down like ADP and the JOLTS, that should shake, and that should allow, you know, bonds to continue into next week and kind of go on the downtrend. Because that chart I was showing you yesterday, there's really no level of support until 320, past 320.
Yeah,
bonds, the 10-year bond, and we're like at 330 today. So there's room, there's room to go down a little bit. So hopefully things kind of start shaping up and get us back on track.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So jobs are out there. There are people who are not working, but there are also people who have figured stuff out outside of the task force, outside of the workforce, that has allowed them to not need to go back to work.
That's a portion of that, but then there's also another portion that there are layoffs. There are people getting,
companies are letting people go.
Companies are definitely, they've been announcing them for months. I mean, it's just, and it's not a couple of diagnosis, 10,000, 15,000, 20,000. I mean, the numbers of layoffs that companies have announced are major. The problem is that the layoffs don't happen when the companies announce the layoffs, because they have to provide like a 60, 90-day window. You know what I mean? So it's not back in November when they announced the layoffs that they're happening.
Yeah, they're giving what's that called when you split from the company and you get a package?
Severance packages.
Severance packages, exactly. Yeah. And then they're deciding, I'm pretty sure they're politicking and deciding, who do we let go? Where do we shed the fat? In order to
companies are reassessing. And I mean, one thing they like, pretty much all those companies, they're in a hiring freeze, or they slow down hiring. So they try to figure it out. But it's definitely the layoffs are there, and it's not just one or two here. I mean, it's thousands. So when all that kind of hits the market and the data at the same time, that's going to be like, that's like I said, we're driving straight through a brick wall.
Yeah,
and it's gonna hurt. I mean, it's gonna hurt. It really is. I mean, it's not gonna hurt everybody. It's not gonna.
I think we're gonna bust through. I think we're busting through the brick wall.
I don't know, man. I mean, it's just like, definitely, and you don't really know what industry gets hurt, right? When these things happen, it's really, nobody really knows, right? I mean, the one that's getting hammered, absolutely hammered, is the real estate industry. I mean, you know that we were talking about yesterday, how many people live in the industry. I mean, I don't know. We're gonna find out. There's gonna be a lot. The real estate industry is getting hammered, and it's going to get hammered. And it's not that the real estate's going to disappear. It's not. No, it's not. Doesn't mean that. It's just that the people that work in the real estate industry are hurting. Are gonna hurt. You know, there's agents that haven't sold a house in months, and this LOs that haven't done a loan in months. I mean, it's just that's the truth, right? But when when dinner time comes, you want to sit at home and you want to you want a meal on the plate. You don't want to have an empty plate at dinner time. It's no bueno, So
it reminds me of the discussion we had with the amount of food that goes on the plate, right? In the other countries where the portions are smaller, could you imagine? There's fancy restaurants around here where you pay a good amount for a lot of air on the plate.
for a portion that it should be, right? Not these big, massive. See, that's the thing. See, we're kind of talking about earlier, right? And the politics, it's all mixed together right now with the change in currency and the dollar is going to disappear. Like the dollar is as the world's currency is no longer going to be, right? It is now, but not for long. And that's coming.
How much time would you say?
It's just. I mean, those things don't happen overnight. It's not a. It's been.
Let's say what do you think? 50 years?
Oh no! That's
less
happening
than
now,
that.
man. Last week, India's paying China in rupees. Brazil is paying China for oil in yuan. Like it's happening, brother. It's not. This BRICS. The BRICS. I don't know if you've heard about it. And it's coming in the news like lately this week. That's been going on for. BRICS is you know what BRICS is?
No.
BRICS is a conglomerate, a group of countries that are forming together.
Okay.
And so, God, we'll take a whole. I don't think we'll do the condo thing today. If you want me to talk.
Let's get into it. We'll talk BRICS and politics.
Yeah, because that's it's not politics. It's not politics. It's financial. I think it's finances. It's the supply chain and the dollar and the petrodollar going away. It's all finance. It's going to affect rates. It's going to affect currency. This is going to affect everyday livelihood for people. It's just it's a long subject. So, but a 2-minute version. BRICS is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Those were the initial 5 countries that joined for this, and they're trying to form a competitive and alternative currency to the U.S. dollar, more specifically to the petrodollar. The petrodollar is a dollar. They buy oil in dollars, in U.S. dollars. That's how oil is bought and paid for by all the countries. So that is kind of what BRICS, and then it's been other countries have been kind of joining in the fund. Saudi Arabia has expressed interest in joining BRICS. Argentina and Nicaragua. So it's basically there's going to be and so currently the supply chain, right? I mean, the supply chain, right? It's the whole.
Yeah.
Right? So the pandemic exposed the supply chain, right? And that was the reason why there was shortage of stuff, right? The supply chain because of the pandemic. It's not really because of the pandemic. What the pandemic did was just made it a lot worse when they shut down like that. But the supply chain was already collapsing, and it was collapsing because it grew so much, and it was it collapsed under its own weight. It grew too much.
Yeah.
If you think about it, like you take an iPhone, it's like 47 different components from 47 different countries for the iPhone. It's a crazy number like that, and so all those components get shipped to China. They get assembled in China, and then they get shipped out to the rest of the world. So that's the whole supply chain, right?
Yeah.
So that collapsed. It doesn't exist anymore. Like the supply chain that we knew no longer exists. And there's right now there is no supply chain, and there is, but it's broken. They're trying to figure out because it's changing, right? So the U.S. is decoupling from China. That means that the U.S. is trying to stop its dependency on China, and China is set on decoupling from the U.S.
So U.S. is set on trying to be less reliant on China.
Correct.
Okay.
And because that started with the Trump administration. Before the Trump administration, China's always been seen as a friend.
Mm-hmm.
And, and so the Trump kind of came in and China, they're stealing our property. We need to do this, we need to do that, and blah, blah. And then, now the changes happen. And now we see what Russia's doing with China. I mean, it's not theory. It's not a theory that China's not our friend. I mean, if you don't see that China's actions and they're not our friend and you think they're our friend, then, you live in this, alternative universe. So, and it's really, and if you look at the whole geopolitical kind of spectrum, it's Russia, China, and the US, right? That's what it is.
And there's a Chinatown in every city and state, isn't there?
Macha. Yeah.
What are we gonna do? They've already infiltrated.
They own a lot of land, brother. They own a lot of land. They own a lot of farmland in this country.
Yeah.
China does. So anyway, but that's a difference. So you have this geopolitical kind of situation. It's Russia, China, US, right? And it's US has always kind of been there. I read a thing the other day. I mean, when you play poker and when three people playing poker or a poker game, and if you don't know who the sucker is, it means you're the sucker. Right? Right?
Yeah.
And I mean, and you got to call a spade a spade. I mean, you have to, because that's what we're dealing with. I mean, they're playing poker. Russia, China, and the United States are playing poker. My question is, who's the sucker in that poker game? Between those three countries playing poker, who is the sucker?
Apparently, us. US.
I mean, you know what I mean? It's just, if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, man, it's a duck. I mean, those people like Putin and Xi, those people, like they kill people. They're well, people die in this in here too. Anyway, man, that's a different conversation.
Let's not get our YouTube channel shut down.
They kill people. These are bad people. Like, people disappear, the opposition disappears. It's like yesterday, the 39th oligarch in Russia has mysteriously died. That's a whole bunch of people have committed suicide, fallen off windows, fallen off boats and drowned. Like, all these people are dying in Russia.
Mm-hmm.
I can't really explain why. The last one yesterday, he was some energy oligarch.
Mm-hmm.
He got charged for taking a bribe, and he died in his cell jail mysteriously. Like, that happens all the time. Like, these people are serious. Like, they're not playing. Like, it's not a game to these people. She is like, I mean, the pandemic, right? What happened in the pandemic? Did they release the pandemic? Did they have something to do with it? Did they know about it? I mean, was it Wuhan? We don't know.
Yeah,
but they're not good people. Like, they're just not doing good things. And those two countries are kind of working together and forming an alliance against the United States. So basically, supply chains are going to change. There's going to be two supply chains. There's going to be the East and the West. That's the way it's breaking up. It's going to be friends of China and friends of the US, and it's going to be a geopolitical game and of who's going to move, and that's what's going to happen. But the dollar is going to not exist as we know it today. So, what's going to the norm? Inflation is going to be the norm. Not as much access to everything as we're used to, because we are the only country in the world that has the easiness to get whatever we want whenever we want it. We are the only country in the world. There's no other countries like this. I mean, the amount of how we consume things here in the United States, we're not used to not having that. Like, but people in other countries, like you're where are you from? Are you Dominican?
I'm Dominican and Cuban, but
Dominican and Cuban, right? So in Colombia.
But first, hold on. Before we go any further, we're definitely not doing no condo talk today.
No, we got to do it. Yeah, we got to do it justice, because that's a really good topic, actually.
Yeah. We are going to talk about it. It's just not going to be today.
We should do it tomorrow, because no, that's a really good topic, and we should definitely.
Yeah.
We should.
So with that said, we will just continue.
Don't open this Pandora box with me.
Yeah. But the reason, what I'm about to say now is, I guess, a compliment to the United States, because one thing about it, I think the reason why the United States is basically a country of consumption, high consumption, right? Is because what the United States did was, we're organized, so we set up the systems and we organized ourselves in a way that was unique, in a way that separated ourselves. We were able to separate ourselves from the European powers because we organize ourselves in a certain way. And that level of organization became something that was highly duplicatable, right? You can duplicate it. So what happens when you become a world power so fast, right? How old is the United States? Not that old. When
200
you
and
think
something
about
years.
time, it's not that old.
1776.
You become a world power in such a short amount of time. It's only a matter of time before another country can just say, if we look at what they're doing and kind of do the same, it's like business, right? People set trends and then, success leaves clues. So now that I'm reading up on this, granted, you literally just unveiled the term BRICS to me. And it says here, the economist Jim O'Neill, who coined the term to describe fast-growing economies that would collectively dominate the global economy by 2050.
Well, that's what they're thinking.
Yeah. It's not 50 years, but
I'm
it's
still, yeah, I mean, and
about 27 years away.
What you're saying is 100% accurate. And I would just add to that is I think that what makes the key to that system that we've developed, I believe, is the people that make the system and run the system and create the system.
Systematic infrastructure.
But somebody put the infrastructure in place.
Correct.
Somebody have to know how.
Those members who put together the what is it that everybody signed? Was it the Constitution?
Yes.
Yeah, that everybody signed. I mean,
well, that's they didn't put the system back then, but they've developed the system over time.
Well,
but as they develop the system,
it's an ongoing development.
If
right?
you look at, if you kind of go back and kind of, okay, where the economic kind of boom, you can argue, Rockefeller and Carnegie and these people, right? These conglomerates that kind of Henry Ford, like these people are the ones, how all this thing started, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, because they all started, they've made tons of money, obviously, and they come from wealthy families, and they set up, but they are the ones that you can kind of go back to and see these systems, like what Henry Ford did with manufacturing, right?
Getting implemented.
What he did with Ford and manufacturing, and the way he just created the factory and the assembly line and all that stuff, he changed the world, right? That's all that stuff kind of started here, and it came here. My point is that the people that were in place and the people that they've always put in place to run those systems, people capable of running those systems. And goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning. Currently, there's people in place that don't know what they're doing. They might be educated, they might have experience in other matters, but they do not have the expertise in that particular subject matter to make a decision when it needs to be made. Yeah, because at the end of the day, when you're
okay, go ahead.
If you're the CEO of a company, right? If I own a company and I hire the CEO to come in and run my company, and that CEO is not qualified, doesn't have, it's not qualified to, maybe I own a pencil company, right? I got a pencil here, so maybe that CEO is a great, that I hire is really, really good at water, but not at pencils. It's a whole different animal. So he knows about water, but he doesn't know anything about pencils, and he's running my business to the ground. And that's what's happening. We have people in place that are in charge of making decisions that are, for example, again, this you could go on for hours about this, but BRICS, if you read about BRICS and you start doing some research on BRICS has been around for years. Like that's been a thing for a while.
Yeah, South Africa was actually added in 2010.
Yeah, that's been around for a while. But you want to know? Do you want to know what's triggered and sped up BRICS?
Enlighten me.
Our president.
Our previous president,
or our current president. Because when he decided to, for whatever reason, we'll never know, when he decided to get involved in the Russia-Ukraine situation, first of all, when it first started, and you can go back, right, in history, when There's things that this president, this like, it's not the same. I'll take Colombia, right? Because that's where I'm from.
Yeah.
It's not the same if the president of the United States says something and if the president of Colombia says something, says the same thing. Like, it's just the magnitude and the impact are completely different just because of the country, right? The country they represent. When the president was asked at the beginning, before Russia invaded Ukraine, and he was asked, what are you going, like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen to Russia? His response was, we'll have to wait and see how bad it is to determine our response. Right. And I'm paraphrasing because I read this in a book. And I'm paraphrasing. And the comment that the person was making in the book was that statement sounded like, okay, if I'm putting, and the president of the United States says, well, our reaction will depend on how their reaction is. So if I'm the president, if I'm Putin, I'm saying, okay, I want to invade Ukraine, and what's U.S. going to do? Oh, well, Biden said he's going to wait until see how bad I do it. Okay, so maybe, all right, so I'll go in. I won't use any chemical weapons or any nukes, but I'm going to invade, see what they do.
Yeah.
So, and again, those are the things that happen. Like, I'll refer, and it's not this is meant to be a comparison, right? I'm not saying one is better than the other, it's just a comparison of situations. When Trump first got in the office, not even, it wasn't 2 months, it was more than a month, but less than 2. I don't remember the exact timeline. Assad in Syria dropped chemical weapons on his people. Are you familiar with that?
No.
Okay. When Barack Obama was president, Assad was dropping chemical weapons on that. And Barack Obama drew a line in the sand and said, if you do another chemical weapon, there's going to be some serious consequences. And Assad said, really? Okay. And he dropped another chemical weapon on his people. And the president, Barack Obama, said, oh, well, okay, now I moved the line, but this time I really, really mean it. Right? So what does that message bring to the bad guy? All right, they're going to make threats, but they're not going to do anything.
Correct. Blank threats.
So
empty ultimatums.
Fast forward, Trump gets into office, and like I said, it was more than 30, less than 60. I don't remember the exact timeline, but Assad did the same thing. There was no hesitation. There's 54 bombs, 53 bombs that they dropped in Syria. So I have a question for you. Have you heard of Assad since Syria got bombed? Disappeared. Never heard of him again. I mean, he didn't die. He's still there. He's still running his country, killing people, being corrupt, he's a dictator, doing everything he's doing. He's still doing it. He's not messing with the United States. These people are going to bomb me. Forget about it. Back in the 80s, you're too young. Muammar Gaddafi. He died. He's a name. Google him. Figure him out. He got into this similar thing. He started, threatening international airspace and threatening, I'm going to, Ronald Reagan bombed his house, killed one of his kids. Boom. See you later. You never heard of Gaddafi until he, a few years back when he died, and but he disappeared. Point is, you can't. You have to be able to. These are bad players, and they're making decisions that are affecting us. So they go into Russia, but then not only that, what the Biden administration was the SWIFT system. You know what the SWIFT is? SWIFT code in banks.
Yeah.
That's a routing system, and that allows banks to send money overnight. And it's sort of the banking system, right? So BRICS was kind of talking and kind of gaining steam, and you got these countries who are like from the outside trying to get in, and America's bad, and we need to unite. What does the United States do? They took used the SWIFT system, and took Russia out of it. And then they took Russia's dollars, money, from people from Russia, the oligarchs and the Russian government took dollars. So that in turn made other countries say, wait a minute, if the United States can do that to Russia, that has chemical weapons, and they will use them, what are they going to do to me? And countries are starting to say, I need a backup plan to the US dollar. They're starting to buy gold. If you do the research and you look at the data every month, all the countries that are buying every month, they're buying tons and tons and tons of gold. So some of those stashes are secret, some of them no, but they're buying gold, because gold is the only thing that's that's there, right? That's why gold is going up.
Is gold an unlimited resource?
Well, it's a mineral. You don't know, it's oil and an unlimited resource. I mean, it's a mineral. You gotta dig for gold, so. But that's the, so you got these countries that are going emboldened and said, okay, wait, or not emboldened, but yeah, I mean, they're like, oh my God, yeah, I should go with China. Let me see what I can do, because if they take the dollar from me, what am I going to do? So the United States actions helped these other countries that were on the edge kind of, you know what, I'm going to go in this way because these people are going to take my money. They're buying gold to protect themselves, and they're saying, okay, I'll start using another country. So India, they're gonna start using rupees.
Yeah, rupees.
And in Brazil, they're gonna buy. So now I mean, and that's something that Brazil, like if you take all the population from these countries, I mean, it's a lot of, if you take Brazil, China, Mexico, you got these countries that are, and that's unheard of. Like before Mexico, I mean, imagine what would happen if Mexico joins Britain. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but just imagine what would happen if Mexico joins BRICS and Russia and China put a military base on the Mexico-US border? I mean, what do you think would happen?
War.
Well, of course. I mean, I don't think we get there. That's kind of that's the one thing that kind of helps the US is that, we're quote unquote far from the rest. I mean, even though we can walk across to Russia through Alaska, but that's, but still we're kind of, again, quote unquote far. So all that stuff that happens always kind of happens away from the US, the mainland.
Typically, yes.
So, that's a big deal that Mexico's saying that we're going to join BRICS. I mean, it's just a big deal. I mean, you just, now this, if I mean, that's an easy solution, right? If you look at the amount of money wires, transfers that people who live in this country to Mexico, and that stopped, Mexico would collapse, because that's like more than a third of their GDP, the foreign remittances from the United States. So people that live here that send money back home.
Yeah, of course.
If that stopped, I don't remember what the exact number, but it's a very large number of their GDP. That would crumble. The country would be in big serious trouble if that money's flow stopped coming in. And that's all the United States needs to do, and say, no more money transferred to Mexico. Done. And Mexico would, like, that's all it takes. Like it's the analogy. When you were a kid and I played soccer. I don't know what sport you played, but
I played baseball.
Okay, you play baseball. So, in the neighborhood, the kid that had the ball, right? You only had one ball. The kid that had the ball, he got picked on the team, and you didn't argue with him because he went home with his ball. The game was over, right? So you never let him.
Whoever had the ball, whoever had the bat.
That's how it is. And soccer,
they made the
soccer ball. You make the kid with the soccer ball mad, he's leaving. It's game's over. So you don't make him mad. I mean, that's how it works. So the US is kind of still has that. I mean, we still have that, but we can't. These countries are just
so ultimately, as a world power, what is beginning to slip is the influence. That's it.
The influence.
That's what it boils down to. Is
absolutely.
The influence.
And I mean, we need. That's why at one point I said earlier, like it became like we're talking about solar. It became a political subject. This energy, man. We need to. Energy is. We need to be energy independent.
Yeah. So influence.
We cannot rely. And that's the thing. Like China has zero oil. Zero. China has to buy all of the gas and all of the fossils. China needs to buy. They have nothing. So while we're on this side of the world, in some states like California, where they by 2035, I think it is 2030. I don't even remember the insanity. I can't keep track of it.
What do you mean?
I think it's 2035, but I'm not sure. It might be 2030.
Okay.
You gotta look at the date. No more fossil fuel power cars will be able to be sold in California. Everything has to be electric. That's insanity. I mean, you can't force people to buy an electric vehicle. Like, what if you live in an apartment? Where are you going to rent the person that lives in an apartment? How are they going to charge their electric vehicle?
Well, it's becoming popular in the apartment complexes have charging stations now.
Some do, but Mike, again, how is the person that lives in an apartment building that does not have charger stations? How is he or she going to charge their electric vehicle?
They're going to have to utilize the public public
and there's
charging
not, and there's not enough. That's my point. Like you.
but there will be. I think I would not be surprised by two things, right? One, there's going to be a lot more public charging stations. Two, home builders will actually start implementing in the smart homes, right? They will start implementing electric vehicle charging stations.
That's wonderful. But who's going to go into this new home that this new home builder, the smart home, is going to build in California? How much is that smart home going to cost?
It's going to cost. That's going to be an add-on. Hey, do you drive a Tesla? Well, we can include a Tesla charging station.
That's assuming that the person is able to buy the house. But what about the guy that works in the
This is going to be for people who can't afford to add that option into their finance, for sure.
So, but then
or they're going to decide it's going to be like a fridge, right? Or it's going to be like an upgrade, right? It's going to be an add-on upgrade. Hey, you can do this. As a builder, I'm going to charge you $3,500. But if you do it after you close, you can do it for yourself. You can get it installed for $500.
Yeah.
We just charge $3,500 to do it for you.
That's 100% accurate. But the only people that do upgrades are the people that can afford it. What I'm saying is, what happened to the guy that works at the restaurant?
He's gonna pay $500 to do it himself.
If he owns the house, what if he can't afford to buy the house? Houses are $1 million in California. How's he gonna buy the house?
There's millions of people who can't afford housing right now, and they still pay more for rent than they would on a mortgage.
We're not talking about affordability. I'm trying to make a point. It's so the ones that pay more for rent because they can't buy a house, how are they going to put the charger on the apartment complex where they live if it's not already on there?
I don't know.
Because there isn't.
So if it's mandated, okay, if it's mandated, I'm pretty sure if it's mandated to own electric vehicles, it's also going to be mandated for where they live to supply the power source to charge.
That would happen when you have people running the show who know what they're doing. When you have nuts running the show, when you have the nuts running the asylum, it doesn't work that way. And that's exactly what's happening in California. You got the nuts running the asylum because they're making these decisions. Oh yeah, we're gonna get rid of this. Boom. Like, you know what, they voted this crazy thing. Like, they're gonna drive business out of California. You know what they did? They got rid of now a truck driver can no longer be a 1099 independent contractor.
They have to be what, a W-2?
W-2. There's already there's an issue with the supply chain, right? There's issues with transportation, and they decided that because you know why they decided that? Because
to make matters worse.
To
make matters worse.
And you know why they did it?
Why?
Because that way they can force the truck drivers to go in the union. Because when they're 1099, they can't be in the union and pay union dues. That's the truth. That's what it is. It's based on union. We need people in the union. Now so we'll get rid of 1099s. No more independent contractors. Now truck drivers have to be W-2 employees. How many independent owner operators are there in truck drivers? That's the huge chunk of it. Independent owners.
Yeah.
All independent owners who are 1099 cannot drive into California from other states.
They're not allowing them to?
They can. Because it's illegal. The law, it's illegal in California. You gotta be it's insane. Then they make these policies like warehouses. They have to be all solar power, renewable power. Like you're gonna build a warehouse, you gotta make it solar. That solar is very expensive. A business is expensive enough as it is to set up a building. Now you got to make it solar. And the ones that are already established, they have to transfer to solar at some point. There is some crazy deadline like that. I mean, these people, it's lunacy. Like, and it's a lunacy policy that.
Well, let me ask you this, because you add.
We're gonna run out of time.
We're gonna be out of time. But last question before we end the show for today. You advocate for solar, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I use solar. 100% it's.
So are you against them mandating solar?
No, I'm not against. I'm not against mandating solar, but you need to. If you mandate something, you have to provide the solution, the alternative. You can't just mandate something. Like, you can't just mandate you need to do this and you don't by next year. Like you cannot bring. I am 100% sold in on solar. I'm 100. I mean, it's one of the best decisions I've made. Right, 100% on it. But you need to. I had information, of data when I made the decision. Yeah. I made my decision based on the data. That's the only reason why I made the decision. In March of last year, I'm like, I don't like where this is, like bricks and oil. Like it wasn't just the financial stuff. It was all the data. I said, we're not going in the right direction. I'm going solar. And things lined up properly. My son was doing, you know what I mean? It just everything lined up and I did it.
Yeah.
So I'm 100% believer in it. But you cannot, number one, you cannot mandate it for everybody because it's not practical, because it's too expensive. It's not affordable enough for everybody to do it. And number two, we've known is fossil fuel for, whatever amount of years, 200 years, whatever, 100 and whatever years, when the first, the T model, you know what I mean? Like whenever the first vehicle, whatever the date that was, that's how long we've been dependent on oil. So now to suddenly to say, oh, we got it, it's no good, we got to get rid of it. I mean, life does not function that way. You can phase something in and phase it out, but you just can't overnight say, oh, we're going to shut it, because it doesn't do anything. Like the Keystone Pipeline, right? One president approved it, the other president denied it, right? So it's a wash, but it's not a wash because the oil is still coming over the railroad.
It can still,
So there's no difference. You know what I mean? Like the oil is still the same amount. The oil is still flowing on rail instead of in a pipeline. Now, when it comes on rail, it's more expense.
Yeah.
Why is it more expense? Because there's somebody making money that owns the rail.
Trains. Exactly.
Right?
Versus through the pipeline.
Mr. Buffett owns he's making the money. So Mr. Buffett makes the money. Or you do the pipeline. I don't know who makes the money. Somebody else will make the money. But you know what I mean? But the oil is still the oil is not going anywhere. The oil is still coming through. So just because you cancel the pipeline doesn't mean you cancel oil.
Yeah.
Okay? So you need to be able to. I mean, like I said, I had that conversation last week with my son. I said, in the 70s, people were standing in line for hours trying to get gas in their car. And in California last year, they don't charge your electric vehicle. In Switzerland, don't charge your electric vehicles. There's not enough power.
Yeah.
Solar. They don't have enough solar in their home. They're plugging into the grid, and the grid cannot handle it. The grid cannot handle. So if everybody went solar, like electric vehicle tomorrow, in any state, it doesn't matter where, Florida, California, any state of the union. If everybody went tomorrow to the electric vehicle, there was enough cars, and you can actually do that. The grid could not handle charging those cars because the grid is in shambles as it is. Like the grid is not.
That's what I'm saying. We need to put the solar panels on top of the car.
I saw a thing on TikTok yesterday. Some guy invented a little thing. He puts like a backpack on, it's like a roof for his motorcycle in Colombia. This was in Colombia. So he's got this thing, and it's a pack, and it opens up electronically, and it's like a little roof. So you're on your bike, a motorcycle, and it rains. You can pour it. I'm like, well, imagine you going on that thing, and that thing opens up. You're flying away. I mean, you put the solar panel on the roof. You get a wind gust. I don't know.
I'm telling you, man, that needs to happen. The solar powered vehicle.
You should patent that.
I should. I need to patent that. Contact my patent attorney.
Maybe Elon will buy you out.
Will endorse it, right? Then we can get into politics.
We're gonna get that out. I'll do your campaign for you when you run for office.
That's it. That's it for today, folks.
For president.
Robert, yeah, right? 2020, I don't even know what year it would be. 2024, 2028. I'll run for 2032.
There you go.
Right. All right. Robert Morillo with Team Aroa at Compass, Florida. License BK 3373543.
John Sepulveda, NMLS 1309244. Sorry, we got off topic today.
The political takeover.
Oh, but you know what? It's related. I mean, it really is.
Yeah.
And you asked me to answer your question. I mean, you see how it's not related, but it really is because it does
It
affect.
really is.
It does affect the things. I mean, it's just you can't get away from it, no matter how much you try. Politics is always gonna, for good or worse, is always gonna impact no matter what you do.
Right. All right. Well, we'll see you tomorrow, folks. Another episode of the Daily Memo, episode 14, down in the books.